Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another edition of Have You Seen It? I'm your host, Denise. And before I get into my review this week, I've got to tell you who my favorite actor is. I am going way back with this one, but it is an actor that everyone is familiar with, and that is Tom Hanks. He's just one of my favorites, period, full stop. And I chose him as my favorite actor this week for three reasons. He is one of a few actors who can really take on a role and just transform himself into that character in the physical sense. If it requires him to change his physical appearance, he is one of the best at it. And so three movies that stood out for me: Philadelphia, Castaway, and Forrest Gump. And he was so good in those three movies that he won back-to-back Academy Awards for Best Actor for his role in Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. So he is my favorite actor this week. All right, folks, moving on to my movie review this week. And I am going to review the movie, The Odyssey. Today I saw the movie. I believe it came out yesterday, which would have been a Thursday, with just, a few showings at a local theater, but I think today was the big day that it came out. So, of course, I had to go see it. I went early in the morning because I've got to tell you, folks, this movie is every bit of 2 hours and 53 minutes long. Okay, so I strongly suggest maybe you have if you're going in the morning like I did, have a cup of coffee if you can before you go and see this movie. And yeah. All right, so in this movie we have a wonderful cast of actors, and many of them are my favorites as well. So you've got Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Charlize Theron, Lupita Nyong'o, John Bernthal, John Leguizamo, Zendaya, and Tom Holland, Corey Hawkins, Robert Pattinson, and Elliot Page. And Elliot Page, this is the first time that I have seen Elliot Page act after the transition from Ellen Page, and now Ellen Page is now Elliot Page. So this movie is about the Odyssey and Odysseus, who has just completed that very long Trojan War battle. So he's left his home in Ithaca to fight that battle, and now it is time for him to return home with his crew and his fellow soldiers and comrades and so forth. So this is a long journey for him. It takes him 10 years to get back home to Ithaca, where his wife, played by Anne Hathaway, Penelope, has been waiting for her husband to return. And while she is waiting for his return, his palace has been overcome by some very aggressive suitors who have decided that, you've been waiting for your husband such a very long time, and one of us is going to take his place. We're just waiting on you to choose. So meanwhile, while we wait, we're just going to wreak havoc in your palace. So that's what's going on at home. So the voyage back home is not an easy one. It's very dangerous. And along the way, there are many circumstances that hinder his voyage back home and his crew. And so I got to tell you, Homer's Odyssey, I believe, was required reading for me in high school, maybe in the later years of junior high school. So I can tell you honestly, I remember very, very little. So when I was watching this movie, I was not sitting there trying to compare it to any other adaptation that is out there, any other book, nothing like that. I was simply watching the movie for what it is in 2026 and for the cast. Had there been a different casting selection, this may have been a movie that I may not have gone to see, but it was the cast that really drew me in. And so if Greek mythology is your thing and Christopher Nolan is your guy, then this is the movie for you. So along the way, some of the things that our main character, played by Matt Damon, come across are mythical creatures, okay, and circumstances that, are keeping him from getting home and really prolonging his journey. And so he comes across, of course, we've got our Cyclops. And this Cyclops is very different from any Cyclops that I've ever seen. Very gigantic imagery of this creature. So that is one thing that he is going to encounter, and his shipmates. There is Circe, who is a witch, and she is able to, I'll say, change the physical appearance of his soldiers. But once, our main character and Circe, they meet and kind of have a conflict of interest, she then becomes an advisor, and then she kind of reverts back, takes back what she has done to his crew. And then you've got Calypso, the beautiful Charlize Theron, who came across our main character on a beach at some point after, the Trojan War, and she has done everything in her seductive, beautiful, alluring power to keep him on her island with her. And so, although she knows that he's got a son back home and a wife, she, feels like, if you stay here just a little bit longer, we can become a thing and you'll forget all about that. Once he figures out that she's had him there for 7 years, he's like, whoa, I need to, keep moving and get back home. So he runs across that. And then you've got the sea. You've got Poseidon. You've got that journey in the sea that is disrupted by creatures along the way, storms and things like that. So the movie's running time, again, almost 3 hours. I felt it, but thankfully the last 50 to 60 minutes, in my opinion, was the best part of the movie in terms of action. Now, throughout the movie, you've got, fight scenes, and you've got sword fights, and you've got bows and arrows, and you've got all this killing and chopping of heads and stabbing people and all of that goes on with that Trojan War. And then through the journey, the distractions and, things that they come across, there's always some sort of fighting going on. But once our main character does reach the shore of Ithaca, and he realizes that I am home now and I've got to make my presence known, but I must do it in a very secretive way. So you just have to, watch the film to see how that is accomplished. And that's the best part of the movie for me. And so that's basically it. If you are familiar with the Odyssey and you have some recollection of the events of, the Trojan War and how everything transpired from that point on, then you can draw your own comparison. It might be a fantastic movie for you and a great adaptation for you. It may be something in the middle for you if you're really being critical. And if you're me and I am just there for the entertainment, then you'll fall into that category. So I thought it was a good movie from the context of me trying to remember things from the book. There were certain elements that I was like, okay, yes, I remember this, but I'm not so sure about this. I remember that. So it was a good little, history lesson for me to just remind me of how the story progressed. I will say that you may be interested in the Trojan horse. If you remember, that war and what the Trojan horse looked like, it doesn't look anything like that. As a matter of fact, this Trojan horse is pretty cool looking to me. I really like what Christopher Nolan did with this Trojan horse. So that is my review. Good movie, little long, but it is what it is. And the cast, the great casting will keep you entertained. Okay. And I will say Robert Pattinson and Corey Hawkins were total jerks in this movie. Their characters got on my nerves so bad. They were really good at what they were doing, but I tell you, they really got on my daggone nerves. So, when you see the movie, you might feel the same way. And if they got on my nerves, then obviously they were doing a good job. So that is my review for this week, The Odyssey, in theaters near you. It's getting quite a lot of buzz. So, you need to go and see that. All right. So, folks, I am going to jump into my Nailed It. And my Nailed It for this week is another one of my favorite actors. But I got to tell you, there are certain things about this actor in this particular movie that I still love to watch. Tom Cruise, A Few Good Men. I watch it anytime it comes on because I just love the movie. But I chose him as my Nailed It because that whole courtroom scene, with going back and forth with Jack Nicholson, and then the courtroom scene where Demi Moore's character forgot to tell Tom Cruise that, the little private wasn't even there when the orders were given. The side eye that he gave her was epic. And then, of course, one of my favorite scenes, the drunken Tom Cruise cursing Demi Moore out from head to toe. Love it. So that is my Nailed It for this week. All right, folks, remember, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure you hit that like button because it really does help the channel grow. And remember, I am available on BlueSky at HYSI. All right, moviegoers, you know what to do. Until next week, I need you to see a movie because I'm going to see a movie. Until next week, bye-bye.